4 years, obviously one big pandemic year, which really changed a lot of things. I think that the culture has grown in terms of like athletes that are like looking to be post-secondary stars or like grow in our capacity. For sure, when we took over the program, it was, to be frank, a losing program, like 2 and 18 or 1 and 19 records. So we've seen some good growth, some good development, and then obviously the biggest piece is just recruiting and bringing the kids in who are like have the same mindset about where they want to go with the program. And I think the basketball culture with women has grown a ton in the last 20 years, or I guess since I've played 10 years, and it's cool to see that growth and that like those work ethics change and the mindset change, both things. So but the reality of the game is like it's always changing.
Over the past 4 years, I think the culture's been very, we've all had a lot of growth together, especially with COVID, and then we've just become one big family. We gel a lot together and we do a lot together off the court as well as, on the court every day.
So it's really about like having fun. Like I come from like a professional team in Germany, and here everything's about like being a team, having fun, enjoying like the journey of playing basketball together, and that's the biggest difference.
Overall culture, I've always felt like this culture has felt like a family. I mean, we put in so much of our time and like so much of our energy, and I don't know, I've always felt very connected to my teammates, and it's never felt like a job. It's always kind of felt I'm excited to go to practice, I'm excited to kind of be in the gym with the same people every day, which I think is super important considering, like I said, you spend so much time with these people, and I don't know, if you didn't get along, it's not really the best. I think MRU especially has always kind of been this underdog team, so I think that's kind of been our identity for a really long time, and I think slowly we're kind of trying to get out of that and trying to come back as like a really good team and making top 10. But I feel like even though we're still a pretty young team and still new to the youth sports league, like the culture's just grinding and just kind of getting through it and just, I don't know, being the underdogs, blue collar kind of team.
We definitely have a fun culture. We like to keep practices fun and light, as well as super competitive every single day. We go to practice and we push our teammates, just trying to work harder, get better, trying to get that 1% better every single day, just so we can be competitive in the league and try and win some games.
The culture here, we've all been a close team, like all 3 years we've had a very just close team, and that's actually kind of why I fell in love with Mount Royal, like because it reminded me a lot of my team from home, just very close. But since it's just from the States, there's not too many differences when it comes to basketball. It's pretty close, so I haven't noticed too much differences.
And now for the starting lineups for your NRU Cougars. At guard, number 3, Maddie Hooper. At guard, number 5, Jordan Glaskin. At forward, number 10, Janessa.
One of the main reasons that I'm here, I wanted to get an education and travel and play basketball all in one, so that's pretty much how I got here. You get to play with people that are your age still, especially like going through university together, and I think it helps when you're all a similar age and you're all going through the same sort of things together.
So like in Germany you play with like a lot of older teammates, like they're all like done players, they're like 30, and they all had their like college experiences, and they just like know all of this stuff, and here like everybody's still like learning and growing, and just like it's like a good environment for me as well, like because learning together with other people is like helping me as well, like to just like learn and grow, and yeah, like that's the biggest difference on the basketball court.
I have a lot of internationals on my team, and I think we even bring in coaches that are like assistant coaches that are from outside of Alberta, so I think definitely within our province alone, we're definitely growing, and I think our coaches will travel for summer games and stuff, and they learn a lot, and then they can bring that back to other teams. And yeah, I think there is a lot of growth for our.
As a conference, we're highly competitive. We always have teams in the national championships, usually like 1 or 2 medaling. So I think that was a big push of like why to stay in Canada West. Personally, Alberta, obviously I'm from here, so I grew up watching these players and kind of always dreamt about one day being able to play against the Pandas or the Dinos or like the Griffins at MacEwan. So I think that's a big thing.
Mount Royal is a great school, a great undergrad school, which I think really entices people. We have small class sizes, we have very hands-on learning. The big piece of the university is that they really want the students who come here to get experiential learning that is going to affect their ability to go out and be effective in the workplace, not just have a nice piece of paper on your wall that costs you a lot of money. So I think that's a big sell for Mount Royal. I think we're in a great city. Calgary is an awesome place to live and work, and honestly being as close to the mountains as we are and like the climate that we have, all those things really weigh in. And then I think like slowly the culture that's shifted and changed, like these athletes want to be part of a change and want to be able to put their stamp on something that's growing and developing. We've been U Sports now for 12 years, and I think that's a big deal. Like they know that the changes that have happened since they've arrived have a lot to do with them, and I think that's an exciting opportunity.
Everyone always asks me here like why I would leave Kentucky, which is also known as such a big basketball state, to come to Canada where basketball and sports just aren't as like prided, like they're just not as, I don't know. But I just came to this school, I got like just an offer to come look, and I just fell in love with it, and I knew it would just be such a big opportunity, and I could just take myself out of my comfort zone and just try something new, which is what I did.
I do a lot of coaching as well, like away from Mount Royal, and I think there's definitely growth there, especially like getting more girls like coming to games and watching us. I think it's a great way just to like stay involved and staying active, like as girls get older, and especially getting through like teenage years when things become difficult. Like sport is always something that like people can come to, and it's always going to be there for you.
It was always my dream, like to play college basketball. Got to meet the team last year in October, and like meeting all of them, they were super nice, and especially Robin, our head coach, she was like just, it really clicked. So I chose Mount Royal because of the people.
Personally, I chose to come here because I grew up in Calgary. I love the city. I take a lot of pride in it. And it's really close, obviously, to home. Like, I get to see my family whenever I want. I was originally going to go out east, but just thinking about being away for a long period of time and knowing that I was going to come back, I just felt like the right decision. Personally, it was also for school. I'm a person that's always struggled with school, and academics have always been a challenge for me. So choosing a big school like U of A, U of C, or like U of T, even places that are out east that are 400, 500 kids a class, I just know that I would not be successful in that area.
Definitely think so. Definitely coming from Alberta, we're like a pretty big city, but compared to Edmonton and Calgary, much smaller. So I hope coming from Alberta, like smaller, big city, that my, I guess, legacy is to like build basketball in smaller communities. I know coming from Red Deer, we didn't have big club programs or anything like that, so it was mostly just high school basketball that we could play. So seeing that I could make it to the next level, hopefully giving younger kids just being able to give them that dream that like one day that they can do it too.
I don't feel that we lose a ton of Can-West like individuals, athletes coming out of high schools to East Coast schools. It's not a massive thing. The only thing that we would see is that Calgary kids seem to be in a different demographic and have this mindset that they want to go away for school. And I think that it leads them to make decisions where they could like go all the way to Nova Scotia and be at a school that's a lot different than the opportunities that we have here. But for the most part, like the kids who are growing up in Calgary or Edmonton are staying fairly local. There are not a ton that are just going across the country to play. So we're pretty lucky in that sense where we get to keep the majority of our good talent out here. And then I think also it's caused the schools in Alberta and in Can-West to be quite like competitive. We're one of the best conferences, I think, personally in the country, and we're very competitive. 17 schools and you know, even the schools that end up in like the 12th, 13th, 14th spot at the end of the year, like they're very physical, lots of size, lots of depth. So I think that has been something that we've been really successful with.
Be a threat. This is so important for us. Every single person who catches, every single person who's on the floor, you have to be willing to be a threat at all times, okay? That's a whole possession of being a threat mentality, trying not to be 3 in a row in the perimeter, and looking for seals or duck-ins is a big, okay? Are you ready?
I think that our level of competition for sure will affect how many people will come. I also think that oddly enough, though that's not as applicable as you might expect, the rivalry games are a huge pull. So like when we play UFC, that's a big deal. A lot of people are going to be at those games. I think that but the bigger second factor is like community outreach. When our kids are in the community and giving back and coaching and volunteering and doing things to engage the youth, I think we see a lot more of those individuals at our games now. So a lot of the our MRU athletes did coaching in the spring, and now we'll look in the crowd and it's like, oh, I coached like 8 of those kids. And so I think that's a huge piece that's really cool, and that's been the girls putting in the time and developing that part.
For students like at MRU, and I think for other schools, I think you can get in for free with just your one card, which I think is huge. I mean, we're all starving students. Like, we don't really want to pay like $20 to go watch a university game. So I think making it free for students and is a really good thing that we do, at least. I don't know about other schools, but I know that we do that for sure. And I think that for athletes, at least, we get a free pass as well that we can give to parents or friends or whatever to kind of encourage more people to come.
A few nights that are absolutely electric. We have a whole bunch of fans. We got drums going, like little noisemakers and stuff. So nights like that, it's definitely an amazing atmosphere to play in. Obviously, that's difficult. Not everyone can make it out to every single game. So there are some nights where the crowd isn't as hyped and isn't as exciting. So those nights are definitely not as like fun and vibey to play in.
It kind of honestly varies. Like last weekend or 2 weekends ago we played, and the Friday game was our home opener. I mean, the crowd was packed. I think it was a lot of family, like my family came in from out of town, and we had different teams there to support us. It kind of depends. It's a lot on based of who can come, like the teams, if they're home or away, or if they're in season or out of season, because they're a big crowd for us.
Yeah, I think over the course of my time here, we've had some great games where we've had like a huge crowd, and that's definitely like last weekend we had the soccer boys here, and they had like drums and everything, and that just atmosphere, it just feels amazing, and it definitely like helps us keep our momentum. And then we have had our fair few games, especially in my earlier years, where it's pretty quiet, and it just doesn't help us as much on the court. But I think especially with all the signage around the schools and around the school and the promotion,
definitely student night as well gets people coming to the games. like 2 weeks ago on the weekend, it was really crazy the first game, because like all the other athletes came out because it's been our home opener, so it was loud, it was crowded, it was a whole lot of fun. And then the second game, when not as many athletes were here to support, it was kind of quiet. So I feel like there's a lot of like room for improvement, and like local people come out and support and be loud. And but I feel like there's been a lot of improvement already, but I feel like there's still a lot of room to grow.
I've had a role off the court, having a season, tore my ACL, so I had a bit of like a behind the scenes sort of role there, and I think that helped me create a connection off the court, especially with coaches and then the other girls who are going through injuries and just life. So I think creating connection off the court as well.
I've never felt like that professional, even though I've been like on a professional team in my entire life. Like, we have so much support staff. The people are so nice here. Like, my teammates and coaches obviously like support me like no one like ever has. So it's really good. It's a really good environment, and I really like it here.
I think it definitely takes kind of some work to feel that value, because I feel like when you come in as a first and second year in any post-secondary league, like you're coming from high school being the best. I think a lot of girls would agree, and guys, they come from their high school, they're probably in their top 5, they were starting, they were dropping 20 points, and they come to post-secondary and everyone was their superstar in high school. So I feel like over the years it definitely takes some hard work and effort to develop that sense of value, and in the last 2 years, especially for me, and this being my last year, I definitely do feel valued by my teammates and by my coaches and by the school. Like, I have very good communication and connections with even our athletic directors, and again, other athletes, even the other teams' coaches. But yeah, definitely takes years though. Like, I didn't really feel like that in the first and second year because I was kind of a nobody, but you develop that.
We always work to remind our athletes of is like there is life after you're done playing your 5 years, and we want you to stay involved in basketball. I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Maritime Women's Basketball Association has kind of taken off, and I actually played at Acadian and from out there, so that is such a cool initiative, and I think that really turns, like, CBL is great, but I think, not to be rude, but like a lot of women are like, yeah, it's just another men's league, like men get to go and do these things and we don't have the same opportunities. And I think them watching that Maritime League has really turned heads to like, oh, I wonder if something like that could be okay out here or like do well, because I've watched, to go home and watch the university players out there who get to be in that league, or like people who return from Europe and do that in the summer. I think that's such a cool initiative, and if that could survive in a place like Calgary, I know there would be a lot of interest from like the local athlete groups. You know, I think we're always trying to remind them that, you know, when they're done, they are hopefully going to like coach or ref or stay involved, and I think it's very applicable, obviously, because they watch me and I was a former player and now get to coach, which is the greatest job on the planet, but also conversely, my husband is a referee in the NBA, and so the girls are like, oh, you could do either, like you could really do anything, and Canadians can do stuff in the US too. So I think it's cool. This group is really fortunate in the sense that they get those role models in those different spaces.
Definitely with the CEBL coming to Canada, it gives players just that opportunity that basketball isn't done when you finish your 5 years here. I think for the longest time it was like, I play out my 5 years, I'm done, and then I'm moving on to the next chapter of my life. So definitely for like the men, they can push to like play. My hope is obviously to one day have like a WCEBL so that us women can also play further on. Maybe that's a few years down the road, but I think with the competitive nature that we have here at the youth sport level, that can one day be a thing, or even maybe having like a WNBA team in Canada. I think that would be super wicked too, but obviously like it's going to take time, but with the progress that the WNBA is currently making, I think it's super hopeful to see hopefully new leagues like that maybe come about in Canada.
Yeah, I think that would be an amazing opportunity if we could get the CEBL like running. It would definitely keep myself in Canada after playing university basketball, and I think it would encourage people to keep playing after university. I think WNBA and the EuroLeague, Australia, we have our own WNBL as well. I think having one in Canada being an amazing place, it would just like help people to keep playing here. Yeah.
So we have stuff going on here at Mount Royal, for example, like Diamond League, and I know that a lot of our players are also coaching at CBA, which is like a girls' club in Calgary, and I feel like you have like good opportunities like to learn and like to train. So yeah, I think there's a lot of like opportunities to become better at basketball.
I think they're trying to reach the pockets of individuals that are interested. So another group is CMBA, Calgary Minor Basketball. We run a tournament for them where we like host all of their minor teams here in our gyms, which is a really cool opportunity to get young athletes in the gym seeing our level of sport and like wanting to be at this level. So I think those are things that they're looking to grow in their capacity with.
It's important to take pride in being a female athlete because it does take a lot of work, and I know that we do have a lot of support regardless, but I think that just showing, I don't know, younger kids that want to watch sports, like taking them to both the men's and women's games, and I don't know, coaching as well is a huge part of it, and going out there and coaching younger teams and younger girls and showing them, kind of inviting them out to games and be like, yeah, come watch me play, like I'm going to coach you, and then you can come watch what it's like in the post-secondary level, so stuff like that.
I think there's a lot of people coming back and going back and forth between pro or the States, just transferring, but I think there's definitely a lot of growth. I just think there's a lot of talent here, and it's not shown off, I guess, enough.
Yeah, I think it is tough. It definitely, whatever route you want to take in life, it's going to be tough no matter what it is. But I think if you can stick to something and you put like all your hard work into it, and then you start to become good at it, there's a drive there, like wanting to be the best and just wanting to take that as far as you can. And especially for myself, I want to play as long as my body will let me. And I think if we can get more people like that as well, then it's just going to encourage more and more players that want to also do that and see like role models as well doing that too.
We demonstrated that we're very capable, very able, and we just have to remember every single